Good morning. This is Don Palayo checking in. Today is Saturday, July 12th. Um, Back for another video. I haven't been feeling too good the last few days. I've been feeling not really sick, but just, I don't know, kind of weak, a little bit lightheaded, and just haven't felt too good. So I'm trying to kind of rest up this morning a little bit. I'm you know, trying to tweak my diet a little bit. I did eat fairly healthy most of the week, and then I started feeling really tired, and so I started trying to eat some like more carbohydrates and things for energy and stuff, and I'm still feeling a little off. So been a lot going on in the news here recently. This whole thing with the Epstein situation. The American people want answers. They want to see if there were girls that were harmed, and with this whole Epstein situation. They want to see the perpetrators, the people that that molested these girls, to go to prison. I think that's a bipartisan issue. I think Republicans and Democrats feel that way. It's like that's one where I think everybody can agree on that the people on that committed those acts need to go to jail. Um, I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're Republicans. I don't care if they're wealthy business owners. I don't care. I don't think the American people care. I think all of them need to go to jail. Um, Sometimes these wealthy, powerful people feel like that there's just another set of rules that applies to them, and no, the laws apply to you too. So they need to go to jail. They need to be arrested, evidence presented, have a fair trial, and that's what needs to happen. Um, in terms of economics here lately, the markets are not are acting a little shaky here lately. The tariffs. Trump's been rolling out some more tariff stuff this week, and so the markets kind of digesting that a little bit. Trump's announced some new tariffs for the European Union and for Mexico starting August 1st, a 30% tariff. The market that just broke this morning, so that's probably going to impact the market on Monday morning. Um, Silver is approaching $40 an ounce right now. It's at about almost a 15-year high right now. The price of silver. So there's a lot going on right now, and I don't know if people are really taking it all in. I am a little concerned about the stock market right now. I think on Monday I'm going to reallocate a little out of my growth positions. I'll keep what I have in my work plan. I'm going to probably just keep it where it's at, but I have a couple of growth ETFs in my personal IRA. I'm probably going to move out of those positions for a little while. Maybe more commodity based for a while. I just feel very I don't feel very confident about the stock market right now. I feel like right now a solid majority of American people are hurting financially. I think it's more than 70%. I think 70% of the American people are hurting financially right now. And shopping is dying down. People don't have money to go shopping for anything extra. That's starting to die down. And I've noticed, when I go door dashing, there's not very many. The orders have gotten. People aren't tipping as much. People are pulling in the purse strings right now. So I think there are still probably some opportunities out there in the stock market, but overall, in particular, in terms of like cutting edge technologies, quantum computing, AI, that sort of thing. But overall, I'm going to be pulling back some of my growth out of some of my growth positions on Monday. I think um, reallocating more towards commodities. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't feel very confident with the markets. Now, I understand why Trump is doing all of this. I know his ultimate goal is to get more manufacturing brought back to the United States. That is his aim with these tariffs. There's some articles out there in the financial press that it's actually starting to work too. There's been a few companies that have been reshoring jobs. There was a General Electric announced a $500 million investment in Kentucky, where they're going to be reshoring jobs from China, bringing jobs back from China to the United States, making washers and dryers back here in the United States. And I'm thinking that's great. That's exactly what we want to see. I want to see a lot more of it before I start celebrating. But that's a good sign, you know. And I know he's wanting to get pharmaceuticals reshored. There's a lot of other things that are in the works. It's going to take some time for all this to happen, but we're already starting to see some of that bearing fruit. I'm hoping by the end of the year that we'll see more of that. We'll see more stories like that in the news, and that by the midterms next year, there's going to be quite a bit of it. That's my hope. That would be perfect, you know, and Trump would have that as evidence that his plan, his vision is working. So we'll see what happens there in terms of the border situation and the immigration situation. Trump is starting to get pretty aggressive with the removal of people not legally in our country. I think, you know, we part of this we have to blame. We can only blame ourselves, our own government, because we allowed this to go on for too long. Our government allowed this to happen for too long. We should have nipped this in the bud back in the 1990s. We just let this go on way too long. Our government should have nipped it in the bud way back then, and they didn't. And so many of the immigrants feel entitled to be here. They feel like they're entitled to just walk over the border anytime they feel like it and come on in and live here. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that anywhere. If I went to Europe with my passport and I just stayed, after 90 days, I'm in Europe illegally and I could be deported. You know, that passport allows you to stay in Europe for 90 days. Anything longer than that, you have to have a short-term visa. Um, so that's just the rules, and the Europeans would deport you. And I when the Europeans deport you, I think there's a time frame that you're not allowed to return. It's either 2 or 5 years. I can't remember. Um, anyway. But you're not allowed to return for a period of time, and that's we should have been doing this way back in the 1990s. We let this go on too long. I blame our governments, since then, since the 1990s, from Clinton on. I think we didn't. I mean, we had a little bit of this under Reagan. Reagan passed the amnesty in '86. There was a mass amnesty. Now, when they signed that amnesty, Reagan signed it with, there was supposed to be border security installed. That was what the Democrats promised, that they committed to securing the border if Reagan passed amnesty. Well, Reagan passed amnesty, and what the Democrats do? They didn't secure the border. So that's Reagan got taken to the cleaners on that. When Bush took over as president, he could have done something about it. Bush 1, Bush Senior, he didn't do anything about it. Clinton took over office and it got worse. It got way worse in the 1990s. I left to go to Spain in 1995. I came home and you didn't see much of the immigrant situation here in 1995. I came back in 1997 and it was everywhere. It was crazy how much the United States had changed in those 2 years between 1995 and 1997. I, I came home, I saw Spanish like translations and things in Spanish everywhere. I was this is when about the time when they started press one for English. You didn't have that before then. And all that started coming out around 1990, between 95 and 97, and we should have nipped that in the bud. Congress. I mean, the Republicans had control of Congress in the mid 90s, so this is just as much a Republican, Republican blame as it is the Democrats. Republicans have had opportunities to fix this too, and they haven't. So now Trump is taking it on, and he's saying no more. We're not doing this anymore. We're not playing this game anymore. Um, it's put a lot of strain on our budgets in terms of social welfare. It's really crowded a lot of our cities and our schools and our hospitals are a lot more crowded because of it. I've noticed, even in rural towns, how much heavier the traffic is than when I was growing up. There's a lot more traffic on the roads, and a lot of it's just these extra people that have come in here. Um, so there's going to be some. Trump's going to do what he can to try to alleviate that situation. I heard that he was setting a goal of deporting 15,000 per day. Which, if he does that, that would be pretty amazing. I think that's gonna be a pretty hard number to hit, but we'll see what happens. Um, this is not, and people that don't like this try to make this a race thing. This is not a race thing. It's not about race. If we had a bunch of Norwegians that were just illegally living in the country, Republicans would feel that way about them too. We we want people here legally. We need to have control of our borders. We need to know who is coming into our country. We've got a bunch of serial killers. I mean, they arrested couple of people from where were they from? I think they were from Guatemala or somewhere. The guy had murdered 5 people, and he's up here in the United States, and we caught him, thankfully, before he murdered people up here. I think his murders happened down below, south of our border, but we don't need people like that in the United States. So we need better control over the border. We need to know who's here. We need to bring people in. The United States does have a need for immigrant labor. We do. There are a lot of jobs that if we didn't have any immigrant labor, we'd have some problems. There are a lot of problems that we would have if we had zero immigrant labor. The United States needs immigrants, but we need to have control over who we're letting in. We need to know their backgrounds. We need to know the kind of skills and everything that they have. We need to know they need to have a health check before they come in here. All this sort of thing needs to be done before they're ever permitted to come into the United States and reside here. And that needs to happen. So that is what Trump is taking care of, and I support him 100% on that. So, but in the meantime, the markets may be a little shaky with all this tariff stuff going on, and the press wants to spin everything as negative as they possibly can. And they're going to continue to do that for the next 42 months probably. So, that's kind of the way things are right now. I want to be optimistic, but I do feel like we got some time of pain coming a little bit. I've noticed that people on the left are starting to become a little bit more violent. So there's a little bit more violence picking up, and I haven't seen it really here where I live, but I think in your stronger liberal states, California and places like that, you're going to see it a little bit more than you would here. People here in the South aren't going to put up with that, so leftists start getting violent here, they're going to have a problem. So, yeah, Southerners don't put up with it. Southerners will not put up with that at all. So good luck trying to pull that off here in the rural South. You're just asking for trouble. But California, they can get away with things like that. So anyway, I'm gonna get my day started. I'm still resting a little bit. I'm gonna try to go out and do a little door dashing at lunchtime. I probably should just chill, but I've got these financial goals that I'm trying to hit, and it's like the door dashing has been slower, a lot slower than it was even 6 months ago. So I'm trying to get what I can get when I can get it. It hasn't been too easy lately. I did calculate that I've got I have this one bill that I'm paying to pay off and I'll be done with my unsecured debt. And I figured out that it'll be the last payment I should be making at the end of August. So I've got like a month and a half left, and I'll be done with my unsecured debt. Then I got to start paying off my student loan. I got to start hitting that. And then I'm going to start building my emergency fund up. I'm going to probably take that $800 payment that I've been making, and I'm going to split it in half. Send $400 to the student loan, $400 into the bank, and trying my best not to touch it. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, I'm hoping I'll get a raise. I have an appointment. I have a meeting scheduled with my boss at the end of this month to talk about how things are going and talk about potential raise. I'm not looking for like a huge raise at this point. I just maybe like a cost of living adjustment. Y'all know how the inflation has been and how prices have just soared on everything. I mean, hasn't been easy, it's like it really hasn't. And so we'll see where he is with all that. Anyway, you guys take care. I'm gonna get my day going, and this is Don Pelayo checking out.